Hello? Hello? Chat room? Are you there? Oh. Well, welcome, chat room, welcome. To a very special stream. We are poised to learn and dive deep into Pillars of Eternity and the world of Aora. Today's stream, which will be getting started in a few minutes, will be all about Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2. But why? Why, mashed potato? Why are you doing this? Excellent question, chatter. It is because tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, check your global release. Avowed will be going full released in early access for those that have paid for it. And I will be one of those humble gamers stepping up into the world. So, I've prepared a presentation for everyone that we're going to look at and talk about everything that you would need to know to hopefully enjoy the game as much as I did. Well, and to help us enjoy Avowed, so. Hope you all can relax and enjoy. Feel free to ask questions. There'll be a few breaks along the way. But you know, I'm really saying a bunch of stuff that's already in the presentation, so why don't we flip over to that screen at least. Okay. Yes, chat room. It is time. We got our two logos there. Pillars 1 and 2 lore dump. Preparation for Avowed. Let me make sure that this works, I guess. Next. Good. Good. I think I'm gonna turn the music down just like a little bit more. We are listening to the Pillars of Eternity soundtrack right now. Pretty nice. So, what is the purpose of this stream? Even though I've kind of already said it. It's going to be a casual conversation with a lot of detailed explanations regarding Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. It's a mix of the Pillars wiki, the in-game journal that you have within the game, and my own playthrough, memories of and moments that I went back and replayed just for this presentation. I'll also add, for my own credibility, which is pretty limited, I put, I think, 70 hours into Pillars 1 and 90 hours into Pillars 2. That was just for one complete playthrough. So, while I have put in a fair amount of hours, it is still a slice of the action, truly. So why are we doing this? I've said it before, we're gonna get a baseline knowledge for Avowed that's coming out tomorrow, 2/13/2025, and hopefully enhance all of our experience, and also to give recognition to one of my favorite game series. Nice. So, also, I have the agenda up there. The agenda being the purpose of the stream, great, we're nailing it. The world and setting, the races and deities, world details, and then we get into the big spoilers. So we have the little spoiler bar warning there. Spoilers below. I also put it in the title. I feel like really guilty thinking I might spoil it for someone, but I'm putting the warnings up that they exist, so we're gonna press on. Before we begin, maybe press on was not the exact right word. Twitch chat, before we begin, very important that to keep in mind that some of the stuff we're going to talk about can be pretty serious and dark, and it might not be suitable for everyone. I don't think I can really give it an age rating or anything like that, but it can get fairly heavy, Twitch chat. Feel free to ask questions at any time. I might not answer right away, depending on the subject that I'm talking about, but we will be sure to respond eventually. And also, I have a little warning on the... I have a warning in the pinned message under the stream and on this slide. Please do not discuss Avowed in any capacity, as I would like to play it with as little information as possible. Wow, I said almost the exact same thing in the slide as I did on in my warning. Nice. At least I'm consistent with my way of speaking. Lastly, don't worry about remembering every detail that we're about to go over, chat, because you won't be able to. I can't. And, you know, I kind of had a thought, I feel silly reading it out loud now, but, you know, we can enjoy the world of Aora, spoiler, the world's name is Aora, without knowing every piece of history and lore, just like how it doesn't stop us in our real lives on Earth, right? We don't understand, personally, we don't fully understand how the universe works and all of the history from your country / homeland, whatever. That doesn't mean that you can't have a genuine, authentic experience in life still, so the same applies in this game. But I hope that I've gotten a lot of the important stuff. Now we truly begin, Twitch chat. The world and setting. So the world is known as Eora. I might be saying it wrong. This is the only time I'm going to feel bad about how I pronounce things, because I'm just gotta go for it. Just gotta go for it. So I'm not gonna bring it up anymore. I'm gonna pronounce things the best I can. There is no official map of the world, but we can vaguely compare Aora's climate and the land masses and the biomes that exist on the Earth to the ones that exist on the Earth. So there's forests and plains and deserts and oceans and Arctic climates. There's really, that's like a lot of stuff. There's, well, I was about to say desert. That's a lot of stuff. Mountains, etc., etc. The overall time period, the kind of setting that it's in, is a fantasy setting with civilizations in various periods of technological development. So you have some societies that are having more Bronze Copper Age spears, those types of weapons, like, or more rudimentary types of weapons, living in huts, etc., tribal style. And in some parts of the world, there is more advanced structures and cities, more of like of a medieval time period. So to help paint a better picture, there's weaponry and armor of the world is swords. You got swords, axes, spears, you know, that kind of thing. You have steel and plate armor, probably, I think also leather armor. There's crossbows, there's powder guns. So this is hopefully shaping the level of technology that's available in the world. In Pillars 2, there's a big focus on naval combat and like traveling around the ocean. So there's cannons, and you can kind of I'm not sure if sailing is like a new invention in 2. I can't really remember, but point is, not gonna get any really high tech or even semi-modern inventions, except for a few that we'll get to in the future. Another big component of the world is that magic undeniably exists in this world, and it comes in all kinds of forms. I probably should have written more here, but there are chanters who recite magic phrases to cast their magic, as well as more of a traditional druids that use magic to control plant life and nature. There's also wizards that can, you know, use fireballs, etc. Everybody loves that. Paladins, priests. I'm trying to think. I feel like the chanting the magic phrases is maybe one of the more unique forms of magic casting, or whatever you want to call that. But in terms of what's available, you can think of the typical fantasy elements. Next. Look at that, chat. We're already done with 2 sections. I know what you're thinking. Wow, this is going by really fast. The later sections are a lot thicker. I'm just giving you a heads up now. There are 6 races in this universe. The Aumua, Dwarf, Elf, Human, Orlin, and Godlike. Each race has like 2 to 3 sub-races. I think humans actually have 4, but Godlike have a lot. I think they have 9. Also, side note that interracial relations within this world do exist. I actually learned more about it after writing this, but such as elven and human ceremonial marriages, but there is no such thing as interracial children or birthing or anything like that. That is not a thing that exists within this universe from what I read. It's like a difference in the physiology, or maybe the biology, or maybe both. Basically, no crossbreeding, but that doesn't stop people from having relationships of various kinds with other races. Also, I don't think I ever mentioned it specifically, but I do use the word later. The races, the mortal beings of the world, are also called kith. K-I-T-H. So it would be like, I don't know. Yeah, it would be kind of like how you could say all humans could be called kith, but see, in this world there's more than just humans, so you need a word for every person, every kind of type of person. Anyways, side tangent. Let's talk about the races. We have the Aumua, hard to say. I pulled this info from the wiki, so I am going to go ahead and just read it verbatim. And we have pictures of the races off to the side. The mighty Aumua are the largest of the kith races and are commonly found in or near oceans. They are large, semi-aquatic humanoids with a diverse array of skin patterns, elongated heads, and semi-webbed hands and feet. Though not truly aquatic, they have an affinity for water, and many of their civilizations, such as the Rautai, are based on naval dominance. They are known for their unparalleled strength and have a natural lifespan of 70 to 115 years. And they have 2 subraces. Suisse, hello. Welcome. You are just in time to learn about the different races of the world. I think other than that, we've really only covered a few things, such as the world's name is Eora, Eora. It's a fantasy world, low tech, so spears, axes. Stop! I saw your comment. I'm trying to focus. Spears, axes, plate armor, powder guns is like advanced technology, as advanced as it gets. And do their boats go bented? In Pillars 2, you literally, the main mechanic of the game is to sail around the ocean. So, literally, yes, their boats go bented. Welcome. Also, we're listening to the Pillars soundtrack. God, it's good. I listened to it this whole time I was working on this. All right, the next race. Also, there's 6 main races. So this is the first one. I don't want to say that they're fish people, but I will probably refer to them as fish people at some point, and I want to get out of that habit because it definitely feels more racist than not racist. We'll leave it at that. Next, we have dwarfs. Also, wait, back up. That guy in the bottom right, he's one of the companions that you can have in the first game. He's a really cool bro guy. And if you keep him alive in the first game, you actually get, at the end of the second game, you get one in-game slide that talks about him still being alive. Because this game series is amazing. Alright, next. Let me go back to my more professional manner I was in. So, dwarves. By virtue of land covered and number of colonies settled, dwarves are the most well-traveled race in the world. They are commonly found in the Deerwood, the Valian Republics, and almost any colonized land. Dwarves are known for their great strength and tenacity. Physically, dwarves are known for being short and thick-limbed. They tend to be extremely sturdy and durable, often attributed to spending millennia in rocky environments more suited to goats than people. And they have a natural lifespan of 110 to 190 years, which is pretty long. They have 2 sub-races, Boreal and Mountain. The one on the left is, I think she's a 57-year-old tribal dwarf. I forget what her name of her tribe is, but her name is Sagani, who has the pet Itumak. She's one of your companions and was one of my favorite companions in the first game. I got the good resolution with her ending, although hers is a little bit more muddied. Next, we have elves. So again, like, just like with the, let me back up. Just like with the ways that people are using magic, how it's not too far out of what you would typically expect in fantasy settings. You know, dwarfs are short and sturdy. They have rocky, etc., right? Nothing too mind-blowing there. We have elves. So elves are the dominant race in Era Glanfith and have the white that wins, which is those are just places, Twitch chat, don't worry about it. And are extremely common in the Deerwood and Adir. Those places are more important. We'll talk about them a lot. Elves are known for their speed and intelligence, as well as a commonly isolationist nature. So speed is a little bit different, but we're still used to elves being like rangers and sometimes wizards, right? Elf-dominated cultures are among the least expansive and colonial, which aligns with their isolationist nature. The Adir being the notable exception, an example of human and elf relationships flourishing. Just like how I said before, they have ceremonial marriages. I found out in all this reading that the ceremonial marriages are more for like land and political gain versus love, but they still happen. Elves tend to be about 10% shorter than humans and of a slighter build. I don't know why I included that. Their natural lifespan is 200 to 310 years, so they are 2 to 3 times longer, like live 2 to 3 times longer than what we've seen so far. 10%? Yeah, it's like, what? Past mashed potato. Why did you think that that's super interesting? It's not interesting. I kind of felt bad. I was like, I don't feel like I said enough cool stuff about the elves. And they have 2 sub-races, wood and pale. And the one in the top right is what my character looked like. That was the portrait that I used. He kind of looks like an asshole. I'm gonna be honest. He kind of looks like a dick. Maybe they're not cool. Yeah, I was like, wait, I played as an elf? Why did I play as an elf? I was like, this must be before I was pro-human. But yeah. Next, we have humans. There's great ethnic diversity between humans, or folk, which are sometimes called, I don't know why, throughout the world. But they are the most common races, and the most common race in many countries. Though not as large as the towering Amua, the humans are known for their strength and willpower. They run in the middle of the road when it comes to physical prowess, stronger than an Orlin, but weaker than an Amua. Oh, that's kind of been there twice. I mean, I didn't point that out and no one noticed. Humans have a general lifespan of 60 to 100 years, and unlike the other ones, we have 4 subraces: Meadow, Ocean, Savannah, and Storm. I'm actually not sure what the difference between Ocean and Storm is, but those are our subraces as humans. Our 5th race would be the Orlin. Orlins are the smallest of the Kith races. Hold on, I'm going to turn down the music maybe a little bit. They're the smallest of the Kith races, though many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. Notable for their large ears, 2-toned skin, and hairy bodies, Orlins are commonly found in Ir-Glanfith, the Examital Plains, and the parts of the Deerwood. Furries! Listen, I was real close to saying the Orlins are furries, chat, but I resisted. But since you've said it now, yes, they are the furry race, right? But what's interesting about them, let me see if I even have it here. They are known for their mental intensity and quickness. They're pretty short, 50 to 60% of human size. They're nocturnal, but most that live in cities adapt to a daytime kind of schedule. And their lifespan is 50 to 80 years. I actually didn't mention it here, but you know, maybe we'll get to it later. Basically, sometimes these lads can be pretty feral, like more beast than human, more beast than humanoid. And I believe, yes, then next is the godlike, which is kind of the most, like, different, whoa, pretty cool, unique to pillars, race. So the godlike are individuals who are magically altered at birth with physical aspects associated with the gods. These aspects may take forms and often come with mystical powers. Because of their unusual nature and their inability to reproduce, godlike are often viewed with fear and wonder. So any race that we've talked about so far can be born as a godlike, and the effects that they are transformed, you know, the effects are usually kind of around their head, but it can be throughout their whole body. Depending on the social view of the culture they're born into, they might be glorified as a physical embodiment of one of the gods they worship, or they might be shunned and outcast as an abomination. Skane godlike, which we don't have a photo of, are often killed as soon as they're born because they're physical abominations that look like monstrosities. So there's really not a lot of those out in the world. And there's just not a photo that I could find of the Dawn godlike. But you can kind of see them there. I mean, we have the sub-races. I put them in order. Top left, starting at the top left, going to the right. The Death godlike, Fire, Moon, Nature, Avian, Ending, Marine, Dawn, and Skane. The ending guy has 3 eye. You know, I actually haven't really looked at these. 2 of these are companions. The one in the direct middle, the avian godlike, her name is Pallegina. And the one in the bottom left, I don't know his name, because I didn't use him in my game. Pallegina, though, was in my first and second playthrough of both of Pillars 1 and 2, I should say. And I learned that avian godlike are actually all supposed to have beaks, but she had some surgery when she was a child that she probably told me about, and I don't remember. So she doesn't have a beak. But you can see how she has feathers going off of her face into her hair. The endings guy has 3 eyeballs on one side. The nature godlike has horns growing out of his head, and flowers and moss, and animal ears. The death godlike is... I picked the least gross one, by the way, for the death godlike in the top left. It's still pretty disgusting. I remember reading, too, that moon godlikes are usually the most typically accepted because their features are the most, or the least kind of shocking. I think I would be more disturbed seeing a moon godlike than a nature one, but who knows. Next, as a bonus, we have the Ingwithans, which are not really a race, but were more, I guess, of a culture. Very important. Little is known about the Ingwithans. They apparently had a strong representation of every race within their society. Called the Builders by the tribes of Erglantheth, they created strange, elaborate structures over decades using shaped pillars of living Audra to support the stone. And I have a picture there of... I guess it doesn't sound like... It doesn't look maybe like an elaborate structure, okay, but I promise that it is. And you can see in the back there some of that greenish hued... It kind of probably looks more like copper, right? But that is the stone Audra, which we will talk about later. Origins of Ingwithan society date back to 100 to 200 AI, which is about 2,600 years before Pillars of Eternity 1. So... think about that. Their structures that they've built have pretty much existed throughout almost all of recorded history. They were good at 3 things: soul manipulation, mathematics, and growing large structures, but weren't particularly advanced in any other fields, which I thought was interesting, because they are kind of painted to be like geniuses throughout the game. Their language is barely understood by even the most well-read scholars, leaving many details of their society lost to the ages. And that does it for the races, Twitch chat. I kind of forgot what I had next, but next is the deities. Now we're going to start looking at some pictures. Well, even more pictures. Maybe some more interesting pictures. There are 11 gods, or deities, that rule over Eora, and they all have different concepts that they're associated with, which we will get to. Sometimes the gods are known as different names throughout different cultures. Barath, the god of life and death, is known as Serono in Valian, or Rikuhu in Huana, which is very cool to me. I thought that was very cool. It is such an unnecessary and likely very confusing aspect of the game, and yet it feels really interesting. Individuals who live in the world may choose to worship for various reasons, like various gods for different reasons. Could be tradition, you know, following the society you live in. Could be for greed or fear, or even for current events. The game gives an example that farmers may pray to the god of battle when their lands are invaded, or warriors might pray to the god of the hunt when they're starving in the wilderness. So while it's not as strictly you believe in one deity and the others are not real, but more that you call upon the one that kind of best fits the situation. It can work like that. There are devout missionaries as well, but point is that deities can also influence the world through various ways and even manifest themselves physically, which is pretty cool. And there they are, Twitch chat. We have the races and, well, the deities of Eora. There's actually only 10 of them in this picture, But if we start from left to right, we have Andra, Skane, Wodica, Galawain, Barath, Whale, Rimmergrand, dang it, Abaddon, Magrin, and Hylia. And the one that's missing is named Aethys. What do you all think? Also, it was this, I put the little credit there. Concept art by Matt Hansen. Just from looking at this picture, do you feel, which do you feel you might worship Twitch chat? And if you say Andra, I might get mad. Don't say Andra. Also, I told myself don't stay on this. I meant to censor Andra. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. It's in-game art, but people have been banned for less. Maybe we'll go nice and safely undetected Twitch chat. I feel like I can't really say who I'm partial to at this point because I've been too heavily influenced, but when I first played the game, I really liked Abaddon, which is the guy with the half-metal face. Whoops. Okay. Now we're going to talk about them one at a time. Starting with Andra, which I might, like I said, I might read kind of fast. But also, hold on, I have some other notes that I didn't include on the slides because I didn't have enough space, honestly. But Andra is the goddess of all seas and oceans, according to legend, and who, according to legend, was in love with the moon. She's venerated by fishermen, sailors, and those who live near the water, and those who mourn loss, especially love. And I have things that each deity is associated with: oceans, seas, forgotten places and things, loss, mourning, the tide, and relentlessness. And I have their symbol in the top corner of each portrait. I think it's really interesting to pay attention to what they're associated with and notice that it's not always as thematic as you would probably imagine. Whereas you can see oceans, seas, and the tide being related. But what about forgotten places and things? Loss and mourning? Even relentlessness, both feeling like tied to both, perhaps, both concepts. The loss and the ocean. Next, we have Skane in a double portrait. Skane, known as the Quiet Slave, is the god of secret hatred, resentment, and violent rebellion. Successful rituals involving gruesome bloodshed and mutilation can result in Skane's favor and create an effigy, an horrific, murderous monster. Skane is associated with defiance, secret hatred, covert plots and resentment, envy, and violent rebellion. The symbols that people use to worship him: small human effigies, usually made by random things, but they always have shards of black stone as their eyes. Or perhaps using a decayed animal corpse. Same thing, replacing its eyes with black stone. Also a torn and slashed banner with an X underneath it. You can kind of see that in the symbol to the top right. Skane is the one on the left. I like Skane. Don't tell the people of Aora that. Also, fun fact, in the most recent confirmed case around 2720, an effigy, which is what happens when cultists of Skane, I'm not gonna get it all the exact order right here, but it's basically they flay all of your skin and cut out your eyes and replace them with black stones and make you drink a noble's blood. And if Skane feels that you're worthy, you will become a horrible monster called an effigy. And the most recent effigy case that happened was from a backwoods peasant rebellion, where an entire noble family was flayed alive and nailed to the roof of their estate to be devoured by birds and flies. Next, we have Wodica. Wodica is a deity known by many names, including the Exiled Queen, the Burned Queen, Oathbinder, and the Strangler, which might be funny, but it's not funny, because I'm about to read you a story about the Strangler, and it's not funny. She is powerful, and she believes she should rule over the other gods. But she was struck down by them and exiled at some point in time. Even still, she has a mysterious alliance with Skane, and you can kind of see they're even combined in one picture. Wodica, even for being known for some of these odd titles, is associated with laws, justice, oaths and promises, rightful rulership, hierarchies, memory, and vengeance, and a few different symbols there. I'm not going to read the symbols anymore, but a few different symbols. And I think the main, maybe we can consider the main symbol the one that I was able to find, in this case, the broken crown. The third deity, Galawain, the patron of the hunt in all of its forms. He is a protector of wild places and untamed wilderness, where the hunt manifests itself in its purest form as a daily struggle for survival. Galawain's greatest desire for us is that prey becomes predator, muling babes grow into strong hunters, and the lost find their own enlightenment. Now the first view, feeling a little negative perhaps. Galawain feeling a little positive, right? He wants to see things grow strong and proper, it feels. He is associated with pursuit and discovery, perseverance, the hunt and assassins, wilderness, and predatory beasts. And his symbol is a dog's head with an ivory bone. Usually made of ivory or bone. And there's his two dogs. Wait, that's one of them's a cat. There's his dog and cat. The next god, Barath. Barath is the god of death, doors, and the wheel of reincarnation itself. Barath seldom speaks with their followers and typically manifests as the Pallid Knight, the Usher, or twins. Bwenin I Aknu and Ankku E Bwenin. Almost. Associated with cycles, doorways, portals, morality, death, and inevitability. And a few different symbols there. Keyhole, jawless skull. Really looking at her, she looks very normal. She almost just looks like an elf knight in armor. From our very normal to the most abnormal, Whale, or Wall, has no determinate gender or consistent shape, but appears as the obscured, a constantly shifting swirl of eyes of all different sizes and shapes and races. This one was my favorite to look at visually for sure. They are heard speaking an endless number of known and unknown languages. Wall is associated with illusions and visions and dreams, secrets, revelations, making things secret, cryptography, symbols, and perception. The symbols being a stylized eyes alone or in groups, sometimes in great masses, or one swirling eye. He does have a mouth, though. I mean, clearly, I was just making sure that I wasn't just imagining his mouth. He has teeth. Next, we have Rimmergrand, also known as the Beast of Winter. And he is the god of all manifestation of erosion and collapse. His dominion and will have been linked to the idea of entropy, and that is the inevitable unraveling of all things organized towards some universally sterile, still, and cold state of equilibrium. associated with cold and winter, famine, plague, death and entropy, erosion and natural disasters, even bad luck and the collapse of nations and empires. So you can think of Rimmergrand as almost like death itself, whereas Barath is death's guide. Rimmergrand is death. He, as it says there, is the inevitable unraveling of all things organized to some still, cold state. Also, one time I challenged him and he killed me instantly. Pillars is the kind of game that will let you do a lot of stuff, but if you're stupid, it'll let you know. I challenged him and he froze me and I died right away. Next, Abaddon. Very cool one, in my opinion. Abaddon is the god of crafting and the forge. Wait, Abaddon is the god of crafting and the forge, and patron of the Knights of the Crucible. He is devoted to duty, preservation, progress, and industry. Followers of Abaddon should work hard, value the work of others, and teach students their craft. So you can imagine what kind of folks look up to Abaddon. A lot of tradesmen, a lot of working class kith can respect Abaddon. Maybe that's why I do too. I'm barely just a normal guy in our society. Associated with machines and golems, smiths, skilled trade, apprenticeship, strength, mining and metals, hope, and aspiration. And a few different symbols there, one of them being a pair of crossed hammers. There's a story about him, but I decided to leave it out. Maybe we'll talk about it at the end. Next, Magrin, which... Wait, I just noticed, Magrin's sword, is that like a two-handed sword, two handles, or is it... It must be. I thought maybe she had a wooden sword at first, but... Magrin is the goddess of war, fire, and trials, and is seen as a fierce woman, often a fire godlike, with black teeth, heavy plate armor, and a great sword. Her priest contributed to one of the most impactful events in Yora's history by creating a special weapon called the Godhammer Bomb. Associated with fire, war, consumption and transformation, purification and trials. And the symbols are a flame or a flaming spherical bomb. And the second to last of our deities, Hylia, is the god, also one of my favorite one of my favorite deities in terms of looks, yes. Hylia is the goddess of birds, the sky, childbirth, and creative inspiration. Residing in her court of birds, she is described as wrapped in a mantle of many colors, made from the feathers of every species of bird that has ever been seen. She is thought to use birds as her eyes and ears. And if you look at her picture, she is quite literally covered in birds, and I didn't even notice that for a long time in the game. But yes, she is a bunch of birds. And I like that it's like birds of different sizes. It's not like a hive mind of the same bird, like covering her body. She is associated with the sky, birds, maternity, creativity, language, songs and invention, and the arts. So not only like giving birth literally, but also giving birth to new ideas. And her symbols are a sky blue bird's egg, or an egg nestled between two feathered wings. And lastly, the god that was not in the picture, which I have found pictures of, Aothus. This one's important. Aothus is the god of renewal and light. He's often represented as a young man holding a candle and wearing a crown of shining silver, or as his messengers, the Dawn Stars. Events following Aothus' actions are heavily present in PoE 1, Pillars of Eternity 1, I almost said Path of Exile. And he is the focus of the main quest in PoE 2, as you follow him in his massive Audra-shaped body, which we can see a little preview spoiler there. He is associated with light and redemption, rebirth, dawn, spring, and birth. I guess similar to Hylia. But PoE 2? Not yet. Or wait, it is out. Alright, no it's not. Wait, it is out. In early access. His symbols include a radiant sun, a rising sun with radiant rays. That sounds funny to say, radiant rays. A sun rising from a starry field. And there he is there, looking pretty cool. Also, fun fact, I mean, you can see his symbol on his forehead there, the 3 stars and the pillars of light kind of stroking out from his head. It's also on, it's like one of his symbols. It matches. The game is consistent. Alright. Boom. Summary time. Alright. Quick review. The world, Aora, fantasy world, medieval weapons, and there's magic. There's a few different races, the most unique being the godlike. It has a lot of different nations and countries which we heard of when we were looking at the races, and there's 11 gods that with various concepts that influence things in the world. Boom. I just wrapped up everything that I just wrapped up the first 50 minutes of the stream in like 20 seconds. So, phew. How's that, Twitch chat? Any questions so far? Any thoughts? Otherwise, I'll continue on with my rambling. I'm gonna pause and get a drink. Because, as someone who didn't know anything, no questions. Good. I think it's all pretty surface level so far. It's like, yeah, I almost didn't even need you to tell me that stuff, except for the godlike thing. The gods seem kind of scary. Yeah, they're not like... It's not like Skyrim, when there's clearly good ones, and then there's like the Daedric gods. They're all like, you know, questionable. Except for Abaddon. Abaddon is pretty cool, except in one ending that maybe we'll talk about later. Alright, Twitch chat. Next, we have world details. We're cranking it up, okay? It's gonna get your pencils ready. I say as I don't hit the right button. Souls and reincarnation. Souls exist, and reincarnation is real. Going through the presentation, I just realized I kind of already talked about reincarnation, but guaranteed, laying it down for you, flat out truth right now, chat. In this universe, that is a fact. The exact nature and understanding of a soul is widely unknown, but they are a catalyst for magic within the world and play a vital role within the world. Souls are made up of soul essence, which is the energy that people use for magic. When a soul dies, it leaves the physical plane of Aora. Souls, at any time, can become damaged or even destroyed. Some examples include a fragmented soul, which would be a soul that's been shattered or made incomplete, right? Or an awakened soul, which would be a soul with memories of a past life, or one that gives past life personality traits to its owner. One of your companions you have in the game has an awakened soul of a sharp-tongued, Celtic-sounding woman, and he regularly argues with her, and it's pretty funny. In a sad way. When he destroys your soul, that's the ultimate death. When reincarnation is real, you know, your soul can move on, but if you destroy it, that is it, right? That is it. And lastly, the study of souls is known as animancy, which is going to be a term that pops up a lot. But you should know that over history, it's been met with a lot of fear and hate, a lot of anxiety, people not trusting animancy for various reasons. Within the world, there are 3 realms. This might get a little confusing, so I'm going to read it verbatim. The here, the in-between, and the beyond. The here refers to the physical plane of Aora where most races are. The in-between is another plane on Aora where souls wander after they die and are absorbed by a mineral called Adra and then move into the beyond. They cannot see or interact with mortals aside from watchers. The beyond is where deities reside, and souls are reincarnated through a mysterious force known as the Wheel. Pieces of the soul are lost in this process and are absorbed by the deities for energy. And I will go and say that it is a natural process that the soul loses its energy and is absorbed by the deities. In the game, they compare it to how a snake sheds its skin. So, kind of paints a better picture of the relationship they have with the soul essence passing through the wheel. So I just said a lot of new terms there, but we have the here, which is Aora. When you die, you're still on Aora, but in another realm called the in-between, where you are a wandering soul until you get absorbed by Adra, which is a mineral, and then move into the beyond, which is the afterlife. And then you get reincarnated through this mysterious force called the Wheel, and go back to the here as a baby. Most of the time. Like 99% of the time, probably. Can you go from one realm to another? Yeah, you go from... Well, naturally you'll go through all of these realms as you live and die. But if you mean, can someone, like, with magic go from one to the other? Yes, you actually do go to the beyond and commune with the gods and stuff often. But without dying or transforming, yeah. Yes, but it's not... I would say that's definitely a very rare occurrence. Something probably only that happens to watchers, because normal people can't see or interact with souls at all. So they basically have no idea of anything special that could be happening around them. But a watcher, which I think we're going to talk about next, or maybe we're talking about Adra. Okay, first let's talk about Adra. Adra is a mineral that's easily manipulated and used for architecture, weaponry, jewelry, or even currency. I have some examples there. More importantly, it's a naturally occurring conduit for souls. It's able to draw in, hold, and channel their energy. And so, going back to the 3 realms, a soul is on the here, they die, they go to the in-between, they go into the Adra, which naturally just exists in the world as a mineral. And somehow they go from that stone, the Adra, into the afterlife, the beyond. So I have some examples there of it being used as armor and weaponry and coins, as well as showing how versatile it can be. It's kind of hard to see in the screenshot, but that's actually a picture of 2 figures intertwined with a kind of like pouring a pot over one of them. And, you know, a very intricate sculpture of Adra. Also, luminous Adra exists in certain parts of the world. You can basically think of it as super Adra. And long-term effects of its use are unknown, but it can be eaten, drank, or smoked in a pipe. I thought that was cool. I thought that it sounds really cool to smoke some Adra, and I really want to do that in Avowed. Pot L, yeah, that guy was ahead of his craft. Hopefully, or maybe in one of his earlier practice sessions, he made a pot with arms and legs. We can make that canon in our own world, why not? So now we'll talk about Watchers. Watchers are one of the rare few who are born with the ability to see souls, being able to read or communicate with them. So As I said before, when the soul moves from the here into the in-between, most mortals can't interact or see them, and the souls can't see or interact with mortals. Watchers are the only exception. Being a watcher doesn't come with glory or fame, and it doesn't guarantee a life of adventure. To me, after reading all this stuff throughout all of the wiki and everything about watchers and everything, it seems more just that it's like you have an additional sense, and that is it. And that is kind of what it is. You can see souls and talk with them. But that doesn't mean that you're going to, you can go and say, oh, I'm a watcher. You should hire me, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be rich and powerful, etc., etc. In fact, I would say most people would greet you with fear. There are many, many, many accounts of people pretending to be watchers for various reasons. Most times, if someone's talking about being a watcher, there's a rumor it's fake. In Pillars 1 and 2, you play as the same character. You play as a watcher, and the first game begins with how you get your watcher ability. So you're actually not born with it in this case. But I kind of realized, that's really cool, isn't it? That you play as the same character in both 1 and 2. Love that. Okay. Alright, there it is. This is it. This is... I've already put spoilers warnings on the screen, but here it is. Here's another one. This is the absolute last chance, Twitch chat. So far, this has all been pretty surface level. The spoiler filter is about to go off. Okay? We're going to be reviewing Pillars 1 and 2, and the events prior to Pillars 1. I cannot stress it enough, and because I think it's because I care about the game so much that I'm like, as much as I would love for you all to hang out and listen to this, I would also love for you all to experience the game yourself. This is that no point of return point, Twitch chat. I'm gonna get a drink, and then we'll continue. I'm actually going to take a slightly longer break and make a cup of tea, because I have a feeling once we start talking about this, the steam's going to keep on rolling. So, 2 or 3 minutes to a chat. Thank you all for being here so far. I'll be right back. Okay, Twitch chat, I am back. Thank you for waiting. I'm gonna take a few sips first. But yeah, we're like, I think we're over halfway done at this point. But I will also admit that the content is about to get even thicker. The slides have a lot more words on them from here on out. But there's also more pictures. I really wanted to draw a lot of stuff for this, but wow, I'm gonna be honest, I worked on this until like yesterday night. Basically and I had to work today. I basically had no time to do anything more than what is here. Anyways, I wasn't supposed to talk about the behind the scenes on this stream. That was a promise I made to myself. Anyways, maybe I'll edit this part out. No, I can't. There's music playing. It'll be weird. I'm not a good enough editor for that. Oh god, it's getting worse. Okay. This song is a little too ominous. Let's go back. Alright. Are you ready, Twitch chat? Let's continue. We will begin with the events that happened before Pillars 1. To understand the greater impact of Pillars 1, also, I am going to be reading this kind of verbatim, but know that it is a mixture of the wiki and my own words, so I feel less bad about it since it's not just straight from the wiki. I'm not just reading the wiki to you. But there's one period of history that we need to know first, which is called the Saints' War. It was led by a farmer named Widewind, who received visions and guidance from Aethys, which is the god of light and renewal. Widewind had already been a preacher of the word of Aethys, because he would receive visions and dream and advice in his dreams at night, and then during the day, when he was not working as a farmer, would go and preach. One day, Aethys offered him a deal to rebuild an empire, and he accepted. Widewind's reputation grew and began to pressure the Adyran government, which is where he lived. If they allowed him to continue, it would endanger the control that they had over the population. But if they arrested him, they might incite a rebellion. So during one of his most popular speeches so far, the authorities decided to arrest and publicly discredit Widewind with accounts of various false crimes like animancy, cruel statements to children, and public indecency, and place him in a pillory for 30 lashes. So you can imagine the scene. It's his largest gathering yet, and suddenly he's being put into a pillory, which is, you know, the medieval wooden shackles where you put your hand and heads through. Your head and hands through. And is prepped to be lashed 30 times. After the first 5 lashes, the enforcement officer hesitated when noticing that Widewind never screamed. Every bite of the whip opened another strip of light from the farmer's skin. When the call for the punishment came to stop prematurely, Widewind demanded more. His voice sounded not his own. As the officer delivered the final lash, a brilliant white light exploded from Widewind's back and engulfed his head in a flaming crown. He stood up, the chains falling from his arms in molten pieces. With the full attention of the colony, the thing that was Widewind finished his speech. He called not for the people to rise up. He called for the people to rise up, not as a mob, but as pilgrims tasked with delivering the bloody will of the divine. Widewind gained more and more followers and marched to the capital city. He became the new ruler, known as the Divine King. which eventually led to the Saints' War itself. His rule ended as nearby countries and conspiring deities worked together to create the Godhammer bomb. Weidwin was unstoppable on the battlefield, burning or disintegrating enemies with beams of blinding white light. You had a random thought: does your character reboot from PoE 1 to PoE 2? We will cover that. That's a great question, though. The answer is, it can. The answer is honestly maybe. Like, not sarcastically. It's a complicated answer, maybe. But I thought thought this was a really cool detail. Imagine being a soldier that doesn't worship Aethys, and you're being told to go and fight a war where a singular being is able to burn and disintegrate people with beams of white light. What do you do? Well, during one battle, it turns out the Kith and deities had a solution. Weidwin fell to a bomb created by engineers and priests of Magrin. It was 12 feet in diameter, with a variety of chemical and magical explosives hidden within the foundation of the newly constructed bridge. A group of Deerwoodian volunteers, now called the Dozen, held Weidwin at bay on the bridge for the explosion and died. Anyone involved with the creation of the bomb mysteriously vanished, aside from one man with a now damaged soul, Durance. Durance is one of your companions that you can have in the first game. But to summarize everything that just happened, Twitch chat, this all took place, I believe, in the span of a year or two. I think I also have a summary in here later, but a farmer, out of nowhere, rose up, became the divine king of a country. Other countries took notice and put a stop to him. They put a stop to him by building a giant bomb in a bridge and challenging him on the bridge, saying, "You will not cross." And Weidwin and Aethys took the challenge and paid the price. This is all still before Pillars 1, by the way. Less than a year after the Saints' War, a nationwide phenomenon was reported across the Deerwood. All newborns are birthed as hollowborn, infants without souls. They are completely passive and have no sense of awareness, eventually wasting away in the crib. The hollowborn do not cry when they're born. This occurrence can happen naturally, but is very rare. It was also known among the people of the Deerwood as Weidwin's legacy. Animancers initially transplanted animal souls into children as a temporary solution. They even called the operation the Salvation. But when these children hit puberty, they would become, I believe it's called whites, often killing their families and becoming feral. This practice was banned. Many Aethesian churches were burned and followers hunted down, while others wrongly blamed mothers of the afflicted youths. And have a picture of the Deerwoodian crest in one of the towns there. But this was, as I was saying, Twitch chat, that can get a bit dark. A prime example. I did not list it on the slide, for I felt it was too graphic, but I will mention it verbally. That in some parts of the world, hollowborn children often have various nicknames, since the term can be, well, dark. In one part of the world where the discarded hollowborn are often thrown to the ocean, they are simply referred to as buoys, as their Baby bodies float there until they're washed away. There is no saving a Hollowborn child when they're born, except unless you count implanting the animal souls into them, but even now that is not allowed. So for our summary, yes, I did have a summary. Deity worked with a big farmer, led a revolution, blown up by a big bomb. 1 year later, Hollowborn children appear. The Hollowborn crisis goes on for about 14 or 15 years, and then that's when Pillars of Eternity 1 begins. And it's just not a good time in the Deerwood right now. It's a bad time to be around, okay? So I kind of have the little timeline there. Really, a lot of what we talked about happens at the beginning, like in a short period of time. Then we have a big gap of time where the Hollowborn started to appear, and then our character arrives in the Deerwood. Okay. I really debated on including this part or not, but I felt like it's super important to understand the gravity of what happens in Pillars 1, to understand this little bit of history beforehand. There's a lot more of history I didn't go over, though. But now we'll go into Pillars 1. So, wait, I'm gonna get a sip. Okay. So from Wanderer to Watcher. The player character can have a variety of backgrounds that all affect their stats. You know, different things that in your childhood and growing up, etc., etc. But for one reason or another, you are headed to the Deerwood by caravan. A little bit extra details, there's actually a really cheap land available being sold by the current lord because of the Hollowborn crisis, trying to attract more people to this, more population to this dying nation. During the trip, they are ambushed and escape to some nearby ruins, where they disrupt a secret ritual, transforming them into a Watcher. Kind of sounds like a, oops, kind of it's reading it like that, but that's what happens, Twitch chat. The ritual awakens their soul, meaning that we get memories of a past life, giving us, in this case, giving us horrible visions and waking nightmares that threaten our sanity, which is a big driver for you needing to solve this problem that you have instead of just ignoring it, because you will die if you don't. Your soul is too damaged, or I mean, is now improperly awakened, right? Seeking help, they are directed to another Watcher named Merwald, who resides at a fortress called Cad Nua. It's over 2,000 years old. I have a picture of it down there. Sorry, and the top picture is just the picture of the beginning of the game in your caravan. You can even see some stone Audra in the back. Wow. The Watcher. So, the game refers to your character as the Watcher. So if you hear me say the Watcher, I mean the player character. I'll try to be clear. Cantua, get this guy just ruined everything. Get him out of here. They take ownership of God damn, stop it. They take ownership of Cantua and learn about a man named Theos X Arcanon. He got me, man. Okay. Anyways, very important. Don't get distracted by the Tua. Very important. We've learned that a man named Theos X Arcanon is the one that led that ritual that turned us into a Watcher. Also, Irek, welcome. I'm glad that you thought that was so funny. I also hate to admit it was hilarious. My laugh betrays me, so you guys can't tell over Discord, like, what I'm really laughing at or not. But, yeah, the Watcher. Yeah, this is just a little thing I put together, talking about Pillars 1 and 2, getting us all ready for Avowed. Right now, you're joining us at the major events of Pillars 1, the very literal beginning. So, you can pretend that you just bought Pillars randomly, and now you're playing it. And honestly, I just caught you up through like the first arc of the game. I mean, act of the game. I think there's like 3 or 4 acts. So, we arrive, we become a watcher, and then we learn a little bit more about our situation. One day you'll play Pillars 1 and 2, you already bought them? Listen, man, I'm about to, like, spoil a whole bunch of stuff. This is... I'll give you, you know, your moment here. Don't feel bad if you want to step away, but I am definitely going to spoil literally everything about the game, so there is the spoiler warning. Next. But I will say too that I barely talk about the companions in this game. I don't talk about any side quests, and the game itself is very fun. So I think even if you knew all this stuff, it would be fun to experience it. But it's kind of hard to say that with Avowed coming out literally tomorrow. Next, more about Theos X Arcanon, which I'm going to stop saying his full name in a minute. Your old memory will forget by the time you play it? That's true. That's true. That's how I am with anime. I was just thinking about rewatching... What was it? I started watching Bleach again the other day, guys. I'm in the Bound arc. You're not gonna stop me. I'm gonna watch the Bound arc. I don't care if it's the worst arc of all of Bleach. That's where I'm at and I'm watching it. I'm getting the experience. I actually had to start the Bound arc over because I forgot what was going on in it. So look, now I've had to do it twice now. Anyways, the Pillars fans in YouTube right now are fucking pissed off. They're like, I don't give a shit about Bleach. Stop mimicking, stop mocking me. Anyways, let me get a sip. Theos X Arcanon. There he is, in the top left. Or, I mean, on the right. He is the main antagonist of the game and has incredible influence over the world. His name is Theos X, like Theos Icus or Theos 9. It's like, it's Ix, like, yeah, like ICKS. At least I think. Actually, now I don't know. Now I don't know. I don't know for sure. We'll pretend that it's Ix, although the number would be kind of funny too. I guess maybe because it's not capitals. Maybe it's not a Roman numeral. But we learn later in the game that the Watcher has visions that tie Theos and himself together in a past life. And we continue to pursue him as he creates chaos and fosters hatred towards animancy, which is the study of soul magic and souls. So his plans to denounce animancy has taken a variety of forms, such as engineering the failure of an attempt to put a proxy soul in a Hollowborn, occupying the girl's body and having her bash herself to pieces in full view of those gathered. Later in the game, Theos kills the ruler of the Deerwood during a hearing to decide the fate of the practice of animancy. And the game's events culminate when the Watcher learns Theos is going to an Engwithan ruin called Sun and Shadow, and he blocks the path so he can't follow him. Denounce anime? Even worse. I think I could live without anime in the Pillars world if it meant that animancy could thrive. It would be a hard life. Do VTubers count as anime? I think they're separate. But point is, chat, Theos X Arcanon is a bad guy who is actively working to remove the study of animancy. They count as anime? Okay, well, we definitely have to take down Theos then, right? He is destroying VTubers. There's a lot more stories of things that he has done, but I felt that the possessing a girl's body and bashing her body into pieces on the machinery used to transfer her soul in front of an audience was one of the more ones worthy of telling you all. Sorry for that choice, maybe, now that I think about that. So where are we at now in the story? I kind of have just skipped like 70% of the story. We are almost now at the end of Pillars 1. So we are now chasing Theos to an Engwithan ruin, the Engwithans being that advanced society that is now completely gone. And the ruin is called Sun and Shadow, but we can't follow him exactly because he blocked the path. Next, we go to the pit. The Watcher learns of a shortcut through an Engwithan prison to get to Sun and Shadow. The route is a massive pit that leads straight to the bottom of the ruins. To proceed, the Watcher gains a deity's favor and is able to fall safely and confront Theos. Fun fact, if you jump down the pit without getting a deity's favor, can you guess what happens? 3, 2, 1, you die. The Watcher can have various deities assist them by completing a quest for their favor, and then afterwards, I didn't know that this was optional when I played, I just assumed that you had to do this too, but afterwards, you're asked or the gods will ask you different things to do with the lost souls of the Hollowborn. How do you die, though? You just fall down the pit and then land at the bottom and die. I tried to look up like how the gods help you get down the hole. I wanted to talk about that, but I couldn't find it. Imagine not using slow fall. I think it's kind of like it's so deep that you couldn't do that. I don't remember if slow fall's technically in the game, but you just have to imagine that you can't do it that way, or maybe you can. Maybe you can. But more importantly than how do you get to the bottom of the hole? Yes, you're asked by various gods, what are you going to do with the lost Hollowborn souls? Galawain wants you to distribute the existing souls to the Deerwood to strengthen the living beings. Hylia wants you to return the souls to their original bodies. Barath wants to send the souls back into the reincarnation cycle. And Rimmergran wants to disintegrate the souls and end their existence forever. Also, sorry, Twist Chat, I skipped a small piece there, but we've learned that Theos is the one that is trapping these souls, and he is going to deliver them to Woedica. And so, the gods, they tell us this, and then they're like, you don't let that happen, man. We would like you to do this instead, right? Galawain, feed the Deerwood. I think I did go back and do that option, but in my playthrough, I chose Hylia's. I sent the souls back to the bodies they were intended for, which I will talk more about in a second. So you descend down into the pit, and once at the bottom of what you discover is a prison, the Watcher meets a lost soul that's been imprisoned for thousands of years. Her name is Iovera ex Encios, an Engwithan wood elf, and there she is. She was an atheist preacher during her life and was killed for her teachings. So she was an Engwithan, remember, thousands of years old at this point. Her soul is trapped in the in-between, and we as a Watcher are able to talk with her. Iovara lived a normal life as a missionary in Engwithan society until she overheard discussions within her temple that shattered her faith. She began preaching against the gods and deities and offered no easy answers to the Kith and no solace in a random, brutal world as the wheel turns and grinds their souls into dust. During our conversation, we learned that Theos led inquisitions, killing anyone that followed her word, and that we were responsible for her death. We worked with Theos and trapped her, brought her to trial, and watched her be tortured endlessly. Her soul was sentenced to remain imprisoned there forever, and now we can decide the fate of her soul at last. So, a lot more revelations there, chat. We've connected more of our awakened soul with the past. We learn of this woman who became a prolific atheist preacher denouncing the gods, and that we are entirely responsible for her death, as we lured her. I don't go into detail within the text there, but we lure her into an area where she's then captured. Throughout the whole time she's tortured, I believe it said enough to break several wood elves over and over. She never renounces her atheist ways and dies. So next, we confront Theos. The Watcher confronts Theos and demands to know the truth about Eovara's preaching in our past life. The conversation and battle with Theos proves without a doubt that there are no gods. The Ingwithans created them by sacrificing their population, with the remaining in charge of keeping their secret. Ingwithans, in the height of their society, were able to learn the truth about the universe, that no one is watching over them. Their worship goes unanswered. They imagine what may happen as others make this same discovery, and decided to fix it for themselves. Thousands of Kith were sacrificed, and their essence formed into various concepts and themes, creating the current pantheon. And that is the grand reveal of the Pillars of Eternity 1's secret, that all the deities that exist are fakes, are false, created out of fear and anxiety from this advanced civilization that discovered the truth that there are no gods. With this harsh truth weighing on our soul, the Watcher battles Theos and witnesses visions of the past. It ends with the Watcher deciding the fate of Theos' soul, as well as the fate of the Hollowborn. The Watcher can carry on or go against any promises made to the deities regarding the lost souls, but will pay a price for betraying them. In my playthrough, I already said, I promised Hylia to return the souls to their intended bodies, and I did that. The game ends through a series of in-game slides, and the Watcher retires to our fortress in Cadnua and lives there peacefully. Now let's see. Yes, I have it on the next slide. A bit of a bonus, because I thought it was interesting. I have the in-game slide text for what happens when you deliver the souls back to their intended bodies. So if you're following Hylia's request, if she was dead for 1,000 years, wouldn't her body be like a zombie? Eovara, that we were speaking to then, she was just the soul. So her soul has been imprisoned there forever. Well, has been sentenced to be imprisoned there. And you can decide the fate of her soul just like Theos's. I actually chose to disintegrate her soul completely. I don't know, before we read that, what would you all do with Eovara's soul? You've learned of, now that we know the truth, the grand reveal, there are no gods. She was right. Her atheist preaching was entirely correct, and she just paid the price for it. We ourselves, the player character, are directly responsible for that. And so you can, I don't remember all the options, but you can send her soul back to the wheel. You can disintegrate it, like I did. Let me look at the options. Three options. You can allow her to stay where she is then, which is apparently her own choice. I don't remember that. You can fragment her soul, which kills her forever. Or you can wipe her memory and against her will and return her to the cycle, so she will be reincarnated and have no memories. I felt that disintegrating her was the best option, because It's, to me, she has gone through enough. Although, you know, when you're reincarnated, you typically don't remember anything that happened before. I just felt like her soul had gone through enough. Let her stay and make the place my house? I don't know if I want to live in the bottom of a pit in an ancient society of ruins with prison. The evil choice, I will admit that it's like a gray choice. I don't think it's strictly evil. It was out of mercy. In my case, it was out of mercy. Now, when we talk about Theos' soul, the game is so great, guys. It gives you the option to restore it back to normal. You can send him to the wheel with his memories. You can send him to the wheel with no memories. You can destroy his soul savagely, or you can destroy his soul with compassion. I mean, both destroy his soul, but one, you know, says like, fuck you. And the other one's like, I forgive you. You know, kind of like that. Or you can... I forget. That might be all the options. I don't remember. I think what I did was I wiped his memory and sent his soul back to the wheel. Because I said, I told myself he doesn't get to escape out of this horrible torture that we're in. He doesn't get to, like Iovara. So saying it out loud, it does sound bad. Like I let the evil guy reborn and the innocent woman died forever. But that's because I feel the game of reincarnation is not a fun one. Okay, so let's go back to Hylia's in-game slide. So again, the goddess of childbirth, the one that had asked me to return the souls back to their intended bodies, aka all of the Hollowborn babies. That sounds really great, right? So let's read it. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of Hollowborn children woke to the cries of their infants and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Hylia or Mogren, or even Aethys, for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief, for many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Weidmann's legacy, many by their own parents' hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Hylia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Hylia's splendor. I really remember this in-game slide just hitting me out of nowhere. It was like, wow, even when you really think you've done the ultimate good choice, the game still manages to add a bit of edge to it. So, a summary of Pillars 1 so far. We know that reincarnation and gods exist, but the gods aren't true gods. They were made up by the Ingwithans. Theos and the other Ingwithan survivors that didn't get sacrificed worked to keep it a secret, which is why he killed Iovara and all of her teachings and all of the people that believed her word. The Hollowborn crisis was not actually linked to Aethys or Weidmann, but was a result of Theos' plan to deliver souls to Wodica. I don't think that I actually mentioned that very specifically until now, but I did kind of lie to you, Twitch chat. The game lies to you too, though. They don't ever specifically say that the Hollowborn crisis is because of what happened with Aethys and the Godhammer bomb. You just assume it after given all of this info. You just assume it, that that's what it was. Because that's what the people of Aora believe. But it's not true. It was Theos being a really evil guy for thousands of centuries, and then this time in his latest plot, trapping the souls of babies from being born. And at the end of Pillars 1, the Hollowborn crisis canonically ends, one way or another, whether you send the souls to wherever, or put them back in their bodies. And you go back to your fortress of Cad Nua to live in peace. Hooray! Okay, that was Pillars of Eternity 1. And next is Pillars of Eternity 2, and I put a note there, good news though, it's a lot shorter. We're now like 80% of the way done, Twitch chat. But if you notice here, something really important. Between 28-23, that's when Pillars 1 begins. Pillars 2 begins in 28-28, 5 years later. There is very little time between the first and second game, which I find very interesting. And I have my own theories of what's going to happen in Avowed, even though I don't know anything about it. There's like one thing I wish I knew about it, but I'm not going to look it up. And I don't want you to tell me about it, Twitch chat. I wish I knew what time period the game took place in. But once we get to the end of Pillars 2, I have good reasons that it's within 100 years. Major events of Pillars 2. We die. Pillars of Eternity 2 begins with the resurrection of Aethys, but this time in that massive Audra-shaped body, which I already spoiled a little bit. That massive Audra-shaped body was actually created by the original owner of Cad Nua. If you look in that picture that I have there of Cad Nua, you can see behind that little building, there's like these rounded bluish stones. Those are actually the fingertips of the giant figure that we saw, and he's buried all completely underneath the grounds that you live on. When Aethys inhabits the stone, he kills and absorbs around 300 of your workers, groundskeepers, employees, etc. within your fortress, including you. You are killed and your soul partially absorbed into Aethys. But as you go into the afterlife, which now I'm now realizing happened immediately because we were absorbed by a pillar of Audra, in this case his body, and went from the here to the in-between, right directly into the beyond. Bereth offers you a deal. She says that she'll restore your soul if you'll investigate what Aethys is up to. Why did he come back to the physical realm? We agree, and we give chase, and this time we're following him towards the Deadfire Archipelago, a series of islands with dangerous waters, primarily inhabited by Huana tribes, which are the fish people. You didn't hear me say that. Because of this, Pillars 2 has a lot of naval combat and sailing. Also, there's a picture of us being dead, which is funny, because it kind of reminds me of the Yamcha thing. Actually, that guy on the left looks a lot more like it than... Well, maybe not. He's kind of supposed to be on his back. What do they think of people that call them fish people? I almost guarantee that it is in the game, and it's probably bad. It's probably bad. Can I say it endearingly? Like, you know, I don't know. Maybe I should play as an Amua, however you say it, and I could really appreciate it. I kind of thought of it. I don't know at all what I'm going to play in Avowed, guys. We'll talk about that later. Pillars 2, game start, you die. Aethys, big statue, starts walking, literally walking through the ocean, to give you an idea of how tall he is. Oh wait, there he is. The Watcher follows Aethys' massive footprints, sometimes you get to walk in them and it's really cool, throughout the region, and has their choice of different factions to ally themselves with. We learn that Aethys is absorbing souls to become strong enough to break the wheel and halt the natural reincarnation process. Aethys eventually goes into an area known as Andra's Mortar, a region of the sea plagued by vicious storms and deadly winds, and also sea monsters that I forgot to mention, but there are a lot of sea monsters. In my playthrough, I utilized the ingenuity of the Valiant Trading Company, the Valiant Trading Company's latest invention, a teleporter. My ship was teleported through the storm safely using a portal from the massive Audra Stone. We catch up to Aethys in a city called Ukaizo, a legendary island to the Huana that's hidden within the storm. And I'm not exaggerating when I say we just went from the beginning of Pillars 2 to the literal end. So, because a lot of the middle of this game depends on what faction you ally yourselves with. So, if I were to talk about all the stuff I did with the Valiant Trading Company, it might not be relevant to anyone at all that did the other playthroughs, right? So I just didn't bother to talk about it. But there's different factions, I think 4 or 5, and you can also go at it alone. Power of Corpa, the Valiant Trading Company is kind of the Corpa, like, industrialization, colonization, growth kind of faction, but you can do your part to shape it to be not so greedy and, you know, cruel to the native fauna. But anyways, at this point, we learn what Aethys is doing. He wants to break the wheel. I don't think I put enough stress on that. He wants to break the wheel, which means no more reincarnation. Do they believe in any god, the Valiant Trading Company? I think people generally all believe in gods in this world, partially because if you're an atheist, you were probably killed. But, you know, that was like a long time ago, right? There's a lot of religious belief in this universe, more than in our world, I would say. Partially also because you can see the acts of gods happening. And remember, no one else knows that the gods are fake, it's just us, okay? So that's something that I kind of feel like is like weird. Like, I think you would go insane if you knew that, but anyways. If I had to guess who the Valiant Trading Company would worship the most, probably Abaddon would be one, because he's of industry and etc, etc. So, Aethys wants to break the wheel. That's gonna stop reincarnation. How big are we talking about the wheel? He doesn't look that big to you? I actually saw like a real life comparison. I was gonna get it ready and I didn't have enough time, but like how big he really is, but the wheel itself is not a physical thing, but the wheel is referred to as like the force that reincarnates souls. But we will get to more about that in a moment. Next, the conclusion. The final confrontation with Aethys begins as he stands before the wheel. Okay, maybe reading it like that is a little misleading. I will explain, though. The final confrontation with Aethys begins as he stands before the wheel and other ancient Ingwithan structures. Massive skeletal bodies decorate the base, once housing the physical forms of other deities, as the Watcher and their companions debate against a god for the fate of all mortal life. Aethys explains he believes in the potential of the Kith and that their growing knowledge of animancy. By destroying the wheel, both gods and Kith are forced to work together towards a new world order. With no ways for souls to be reincarnated, the amount of souls within the beyond becomes finite. Aethys predicts it will be emptied within 1 or 2 generations, with dying souls being trapped in the in-between with no place to go. The Watcher can argue for or against breaking the wheel and influence Aethys' decision in many ways, but canonically, the wheel is broken. So, I don't know if I have a picture of it in here. Should have made a triangle. It's a much better structure, rigidity than a circle. You know what? That's the exact kind of thinking that we need in this new world order, Irek. We need someone like you. These big ideas. Say, hey, move away from this whole wheel thing, alright? What about a triangle? The gods have never heard of such big ideas. Perhaps one day we'll all be following your new world order. So you can see, actually, there in that picture, we're kind of small. We're standing on a little rock, and we're looking at Aethys. We, as I was an elf, so... I don't know. Humans seem to be human-sized, as if the same in our world. And, we're like, you know, like the size of his nostril. So, he's a pretty big guy. And no matter what happens, Twitch chat, no matter your opinion, what companions you bring, what things you discuss, You can have a few different endings, but they all result in the wheel being destroyed. Now, let me back up because there was a good point that was made about the wheel. The illusion of choice. It's yeah, I guess some people could argue that too. There's a lot of choices you can make though. That there's like so many end game slides. But I like that no matter what you choose, the wheel is broken. And I remember in my playthrough, my thoughts up until this point was I was against breaking the wheel, and over time was persuaded by Aethys, and at the end of the game I was like, I agree. Do it. Break it. saying that out loud, it just sounds pretty crazy actually, I guess, but the fact is, this world that they live in with false gods and this reincarnation cycle, feeding these gods that are not true gods but are doing their own ambitions, is just not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. You could argue that it might, and that what he's doing is drastic, but this is also a way to force the world to a new way of being. And this is also why I said that the game can't be too far into the future after Pillars 2, even though it might be. It could be thousands of years in the future and they could just make something up. But in theory, the game should not be more than 1 or 2 generations in the future from this game, because if it is, where did the souls come from for these new people that have been inhabiting Eora? I thought that was very interesting, which is also partially why I wanted to share all this stuff with you guys. But going back to the way I remember now, going back to the wheel not being a physical thing. I didn't include this because I thought it was confusing, and it is confusing. Okay, hold on, I'll read your thing in a second, Sweets, but let me finish my thought about the wheel. The wheel is not a physical thing, but the Ingwithans have built a device that allows them to better control the flow of the wheel. In the past, 2,000 years ago, souls were often born with soul maladies like Hollowborn and fragmented souls and awakened souls like we've spoken about. And the Ingwithans built a device to help regulate the flow of the wheel. And that's what Aethys is destroying. And people were not happy with that explanation, and Josh Sawyer had to come on, the guy that directed the game had to come out and say, look guys, you can think of it like a river that's been dammed for too long. Once you remove the dam, the flow and the way that the river acts can no longer go back to the same way it was. I don't really need a fancy explanation. All he had to do was say, nope, they broke the thing and it doesn't work anymore. And I'd say, good enough for me, but that's the full thing. Wait, so there's no new souls even when the wheel was alive? Well, they would be... that's a tough question. Basically, when the wheel's alive, you can get reincarnated, which you could argue is and is not a new soul, but, you know, there is a cycle happening, right? It's renewing itself, and little bits of soul energy go and feed the gods, and they're all happy. But now that the wheel's broken, when someone is on Eora, the here, and they die, their soul is going to go to the in-between, but it won't be able to go to the beyond. It will just be trapped there. All the souls that are in the beyond will be born as babies. But since there's no new ones going into the beyond, eventually all births will be Hollowborn. Soulless baby, exactly. Isn't that, and I'm like, and you're telling me, so you expect me to think that the game is not going to be that far in the future? I bet it's close to the future. I'm very curious to see if I'm right or not. But alright, chat, so there is the wheel being broken. He does it, guys. He does it. No matter what choices you make, the wheel breaks. Average man's like 5.9 feet, and they're like a third of that ear. So that dude's like 483 feet tall. What else is that tall? Wow, okay, well, I got a video of a guy named Kyle Schwarber hitting a 483-foot home run. So maybe that'll help you paint a bit. It doesn't help you paint a better picture at all. We need that guy that calculates heights now. Is that one guy? I thought I just assumed that other people used his technique, but if that's always just been one guy, I've seen his videos. Anyways, Twitch chat, let's wrap it up here. We have the epilogue. As the Watcher of Cadnua and the former Herald of Bereth, you return to your ship and begin the long journey home. You hope for calm weather. That's the exact text that happens on the final in-game slide. And I remember it washing over me like, you know, I don't know. Just washing over me. The boat goes vented at Cadtua. Exactly. This guy's got brain rot. He's been infected, guys. We gotta take Suisse out back, I think. Dude got the School's Day ending? Is that a movie? Uh-oh. Also, okay, wait. There is a little bit more. Our journey is over. The storm of Andra's mortar is calmed. So that storm with all the sea monsters and stuff that was protecting the legendary island where all the Ingwithan machinery was for the wheel is gone. And I also think that that's going to be really important to the game's story too, because I know that there's tons and tons of luminous Andra within that storm area. So it would be, you know, like it's going to be like a gold rush almost. One particular watcher, a rogue named Mash, had used this time to reflect on his journey. He had traveled alongside many companions, helping them with their goals as they helped him, and at times, failing to do the right thing as well. There are too many stories to tell, but their journey together has forever changed his life. Watch this game be a One Piece inspired game. You go to one island to... I mean, a lot of Pillars 2, you do go from island to island to island to island, but I don't think they're as whimsical as the One Piece islands. Just my guess. And now, lastly, Twitch chat, I will share with you and you find the One Piece. If only. I mean, I have no idea what awaits us in Avowed. But I thought it would be fun, and I've mentioned it before. The wheels, the friends you made along the way, the wheel can be like the pirate ship wheel. Yeah, like I can see that. It like zooms out to like the cosmic wheel, but then it like overlays with your ship's wheel turning, and then it shows all of your crewmates. But wait, they can't do another ship sailing game. They just did that. But you know what? I wouldn't be against it because it was really fun. At the end of my Pillars adventure, when I learned that Avowed was coming out, or actually, I think I did this just of my own accord because I thought it would be interesting. I wrote a letter from the perspective of my character to half as a journal entry, but also half to explain to my future character in Avowed, so that way we have a canonical reason of knowing all the stuff about the universe that we do. And after debating it somewhat, I've decided to read it to you all as our final thing. So I have it here. It might be hard to read, but I will read it to you, don't worry. Lord Mash of Cadnua, Captain of the Wheel's Splinter. Day 375, hour 16, 18 late spring, Tarprima, 2829 AI. Approximately 2 days after the final confrontation with Aethys. The wheel has been shattered, but hope has not. Despite the long journey of being strung along by various parties and gods, the world of Aora may be headed towards a better place. As the last drop of essence poured out of Aethys' Titan, I saw visions of a potential future. The Deadfire will be run by the Valian Trading Company, and I have full faith in their ability to do so. Through my actions, I was able to defend Director Castel's honor, and enabled him to create the pillars of a new engineering society within Ukaizo and Nekitaka. The future of Animancy is one that cannot be ignored, and with the Republic and Aethys' final blessing, we may be able to break free from the gods and their will. Yet despite their resourcefulness, I am unsure the rest of the world will be able to adapt. It is my hope that through Animancy, we may be able to repair the natural cycle of reincarnation that was destroyed when the Inguithans attempted to improve it. A society is never meant to prosper forever, and any attempting to do so is naive and foolish. The Inguithans were ingenious enough to create cities of Adra and powerful world-changing machines, but could not see that larger picture. The gods, Theos, even myself are all driven by our conscience. Adair said once that the gods control our fate, but not our lives, and now they don't control either. There is no true force or being that can decide our fate. I feel this is how things are meant to be, with no significant meaning behind most things. Life is an adventure, although it is not always a grand one. It is one we are forced to undertake. I hope that Kith and gods can learn to work together in what time we have left. So, a little bit of an insight to my playthrough, actually. I sided with the Valian Trading Company, and I also used the essence from Aethys to inspire people around the world and help further the advances of Animancy, which is why I feel my letter is a bit positive in nature, feeling like there might be a chance that we can figure out a solution. And that's it, Twitch chat. Boom, thank you very much. That is the end for now. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you all for Avowed. Now I feel like I can relax and we can just blab about anything else. You like how I drank the essence and got so drunk that I saw stuff? Wait, when was that? Also, tomorrow, Twitch chat, is when Avowed comes out for early access at 1 p.m. Eastern. And that is probably not when I'm going to go live, because I'm going to have to download it and probably do some troubleshooting and stuff. But I'm going to go live pretty early, as soon as I can. Oh, when the last F of the Essence poured out, I saw visions. That's true. Okay, I admit that maybe it perhaps sounded like I drank the Essence. I don't know how Soul Essence is absorbed. You know what? I did drink it. Aethys put his finger over my mouth, and I kind of opened my mouth like a little baby bird, and I kind of just drank a little bit of it. Well, I could have described it in any way, and that's the way that I chose. It's not very cool cool rogue. Anyway, actually, going back to Suisse's earlier question about what was it exactly? About between Pillars 1 and 2? Does your character reboot from 1 and 2? It's, when you die from going from 1 to 2, when your soul's reincarnated, that's when you have your option to change stuff. Which I think is a pretty clever way of changing stuff, you know, because it's like, oh, now your soul's better, but it's different now, you know? I just played as a rogue the whole time, though. I have no idea what I'm going to play it in Avowed. I'm assuming there's magic. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've only seen the one trailer where an arrow is flying through the sky. Didn't I say when you're reincarnated, you forget everything? That's what happens with a normal reincarnation, but we were reincarnated with, you know, thanks to Bareth, the god of life and death and cycles, so she, you know, restored us with our soul as memories intact. And also, that reminds me, backing up to Theos, that guy who, you know, killed Eovara, right, thousands of years ago? Did you get half your soul back? Yeah, you get your soul back from Aethys at the end there. It is kind of funny. I mean, he's just kind of like, oh, before I go, allow me to fix what ails you. He's like, whoop, and you're fixed. It's like, hey, well, I guess that's how it would work, man. But Theos, think about this, Twitch chat. Theos and Eovara. Eovara lived with Ingwithans thousands of years ago. How is Theos in charge of the Inquisitions against her atheism, as well as being alive in present day? How does that work? It's because Wodaka, the god that he's serving and going to give all the Hollowborn souls to, reincarnates him every time he dies and gives him his memories back every time. And his whole life has been dedicated to preserving the secret of the Ingwithans, as well as now giving Wodaka souls. So really, he was, depending on how you view what the Ingwithans did, he was really a normal guy, a protector of this secret, until he went evil and started doing this sacrificing stuff to Wodaka. But I thought that was insane. That they took this idea of you know, the soul and magic and just some basic stuff, and you know, over here you have like babies not being able to be born because their souls are trapped to people being reincarnated with their memories over thousands of years. The voices after being reborn 5 times, that was your character for sure when you don't have all of your memories. There's so much stuff in this game, guys. I feel like you know, we went over the major events in the story, but again, your playthrough can totally be your own, and I think that it would still be worth to give it a shot sometime. At this point in history, the games probably won't feel too old, because if they're going to feel old to you before, or I mean, clunky and dated before they... Or, what am I trying to say? I don't think that they'll feel clunky even if you played them nowadays, right? I hesitate to say, though, like, if you like Baldur's Gate 3, you should try Pillars, because they're, like, pretty different. Pillars 1, you literally go to the town, and there's just, like, a tree of dead branches and, like, 12 hanged bodies there. That's, like, one of the first visuals of the game. This game sounds way cooler than BG3. I think it's, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's like, it's a really great series. It's pretty hard to put into words, but hey, at least I can feel a little better knowing that I'm spreading it where I can, which makes me feel good. So, Twitch chat, I won't blabble on too much longer, but thank you all again for joining me for the Pillars 1 and 2 Avowed prep stream. We'll be playing Avowed tomorrow as early as I can, but it won't be before 1 p.m. Eastern, so that's because that's when the global release time starts. And if you're confused about the release, that's because I'm paying for the early access. You know, I don't know how Avowed's going to be. I'm going to tell you guys, don't pay for the early access yet. I would maybe just wait. Just wait like 1 day and see, you know. But if you, I'm guessing if you think it's cool, you could probably buy it tomorrow and still get it 4 days early. And then lastly, for the super nerds, I have my characters. I have my characters from Pillars 2. I took screenshots of my character and their party, and I'm not going to read all this because this would be like, holy shit, way too many words for me to try to read after this, and I'm worried about my throat. But look, there's my character. There's my character. This was before I streamed, so I don't know why my name is Mash. This must have been in that weird period where I was calling myself Mash, but not streaming yet. That period existed too. But I have my classic, my spear, and I forget if that's actually a blunderbuss. Yeah, I think it's really a blunderbuss and not a pistol. Feels pretty cool. I think I look cool. I got a cool mask. Next is my alternate weapons. So I have a spear and a dagger. The dagger is a soul-bonded weapon, which means it levels up with you, which is something really cool in this game. This dagger is actually one of the daggers that they use to sacrifice people to become a god and a deity. I probably shouldn't use it to kill criminals, but you know, whatever. I'm using it now. I got it and it's mine. What was mine? It's not mine anymore. How do I spear with one hand? Very epically, very coolly. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if I can do it 2 hands or 1 hand, but I would just imagine my character, like, you know, spearing somebody, pole vaulting off their body, and like, and like shooting someone in the face while they're acrobating around. That sounds sick. Next we have Adair, who I mentioned in my letter. He's wearing a helmet, which kind of looks kind of funny in my opinion, but I wanted to show his cool helmet. He doesn't have cool armor to match the helmet, but his shield's got this cool kind of like Roman-looking-esque soldiers fighting on it. He's got a a weapon that's inscribed, "I'm Ulster's weapon, and I'll shut your mouth," and it's all spelled wrong. Pretty good stuff. We have Aloth, which is a really important wizard. Also, these first 3 companions are all in the first game and second game. Which is also really great. I think that really added to my enjoyment, was that it wasn't just one game. It wasn't just 70 hours that I adventured with them. It was 70 plus 90 from both of the games, you know? Aloth, wizard. He's a wizard. He has a crossbow. No, wait a second. Where's the crossbow at? Now, he's got a mace, which I admit is probably not better than a crossbow, but and he also has a dagger, it looks like. Or no, that's a wand. That's a wand. Those are actually both technically wands. And the effects of these things are so crazy sounding, like Beasts Imagine. Hits with this weapon have a 5% chance to cast Form of the Helpless Beast on their target. Oh yeah, that turns them into little piggies. The scepter. That scepter is a pretty, like, important to the story. It's talking about Theos within there too. Theos actually had a cult called the Leaden Key. I didn't talk about it at all. He had a cult. That was how he was able to kill all the atheists and stuff, and also remain in power. Basically, I think it's like when his soul was reborn, the Leaden Key would go and find him, and then they would restore his memories somehow. Maybe that's how it worked. We have Pallegina, who was my secondary DPS, kind of like an off tank. I had Adair as my main tank, Aloth as DPS, Pallegina as off tank / DPS. She's the avian godlike. In my first playthrough, I had her in my game the whole time. Wait, let me back up. In the second game, well, too late, I already ruined it. In the first game, I had her in my playthrough the whole time, but I never did her companion quest. I have no idea how I didn't know to do that. I just didn't do it. It might have been an immersion thing where I felt like I didn't want to just go and help everyone do everything. I don't like doing that. So, she's actually a part of like a certain order, and because I didn't help her, she gets disgraced and removed from that order. In the second game, I found her working as a bodyguard in a random town where she was pretty pissed off at me. Whereas if I would have helped her, she would have been in a different location a little bit later in the game. I just thought that was really cool, you know, like that is a possibility, but also that I went on this journey with her, and even though I didn't really do the right thing and help her at the beginning, by the end of Pillars 2, I was able to get the good Pallegina ending. Hooray! And then lastly, we have Zodi, which is a new companion in Pillars 2. She is like a devout priestess of Aethys, but more specifically Gon, which we didn't talk about. But Gon is what people believe is this new Aethys. So the Aethys that was working with Widewind and got blown up, people that like Zodi assume that was the real Aethys and now he's dead. This new one is kind of like a different Aethys named Gon, and he's similar but different. I can't really explain it because it's kind of confusing. Gon, G-A-U-N. But she is like a little priestess, and she has a lantern that has Audra in it, and she collects souls with the intention to give it to Aethys. Pretty neat stuff. Also, she was my girlfriend in the game. I really wish that wasn't the last thing I was going to end on, but I don't have anything else for you all to chat. All right. Thank you all again very, very much for joining me. I hope to see you all for Avowed, if not early for our first session at some point, because I've taken the next 2 days off work, then it's the weekend, and then we have Monday, which I'm off work. That's 5 days of Avowed coming our way, and I'm gonna play a lot of it, but I'm not going to no-life it, because the past times I've no-lifed games just made me feel bad afterwards. So I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit, Twitch chat. Wish me luck in my journey of balancing and being healthy. Thank you all again for being here. Hope to see you all next time, and have a good night. Goodbye. Thank you.